Watch me. Childhood memories where everything was spread as a bright blue sky. It takes me away to that special place, and if I stay too long, I'd probably break down and cry. Of the bluest skies as if they start to rain. I hate to look into those eyes and see an ounce of pain. But every finds me over one safe place where as a child I'd hide and pray for the thunder and the rain. Quiet pass me by. Oh, yeah.
Where do we?
Okay, good afternoon. Let's get started again in the second part of our taxonomy discussions. It has been really interesting. The first part I really enjoyed, a lot of interesting ideas and thoughts. And we again have we have a lot of presentations. So I'll call upon my good friend Leo for the first presentation.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Vijay, and thank you, Camila and Olaf, for the invitation. I'm Leonardo Vitrago. I currently work as regional support contractor for GBIF, but today I'm here to share a project that began as part of my master thesis, the journey of how we transform years of scattered taxonomic information into a living collaborative digital catalog, the catalog of the fishes of Colombia. I'm speaking on behalf of my colleagues, María Ángeles Arce, Henry Agudelo, and Lauren Ras that is here. So, Colombia's ichthyological history dates back to the 18th century with early naturalists like José Celestino Mutis. Over time, their work and that of many others became fragmented across museums, field notes, and printed catalogs. The challenge was clear. How do we bring centuries of dispersed information together in one accessible and reliable resource? So the answer began with the Biodiversity Information for Development, BIT program, funded by the European Union and coordinated by GBIF. Through BIT, the Universidad Nacional de Colombia partnered with national and regional collaborators to build the catalog of the fishes of Colombia. What makes it special is that the structure and workflow behind it were designed and focused on building a sustainable model to keep national species catalog alive and up to date. So why a national catalog matters? Colombia is one of the most fish-rich countries on earth, with 2 oceans, countless rivers, and hundreds of endemic species. Fish are vital for food security, livelihoods, and culture. Yet only recently, data about them were scattered and inconsistent. This catalog now serves as a trust national reference, ensuring that taxonomic and distribution data are standardized and open for research, conservation, and decision-making. But at the heart of the catalog is the editorial committee, which plays a vital role in guiding its scientific foundation. They invite ichthyologists to contribute, define the taxonomic structure, review feedback from authors, and ensure the catalog's scientific rigor. Behind this effort stands a large and diverse community, more than 100 national and international authors from various institutions who curate the species information and make knowledge about Colombia's fishes accessible to everyone. We also count on key data users that are on the right side, and institutional allies who have been essential to consolidating and expanding the catalog. Their ongoing collaboration keeps this platform credible, dynamic, and sustainable. The catalog builds upon more than a century of ichthyological collections preserved across Colombian and international institutions. Taxonomies rely on these biological collections and scientific publications as the foundations for their work. And this is exactly what the editorial committee uses to define the taxonomic backbone of the catalog, which is developed from the published checklist. Once that structure is in place, individual taxon pages are created for each species, allowing authors to contribute and edit content directly, ensuring that the catalog continues to grow and evolve through expert input. During the project, 3 national species checklists were standardized to Darwin Core and published through GBIF, representing a total of 1,000 and more than 700 freshwater species and more than 2,000 marine species for Colombia. That's the backbone of the catalog. These datasets are now openly available, creating transparency and traceability in Colombian fish taxonomy. Here is a look at the author interface, a system that allows registered experts to edit and validate data directly. This feature is a structure that combines scientific authority with technical interoperability, ensuring quality control while keeping data current. So the catalog uses taxonomic identifiers from global databases such as WORMS and the Catalog of Life, and it also communicates with the Biodiversity Information System of Colombia, which serves as the GBIF national node. Through this integration, the catalog connects directly with global taxonomic networks, allowing real-time updates that keep Colombia's taxonomy synchronized with international standards, a key step toward building truly living catalogs. One of the most important outcomes of this work was the creation of an API, which enables national institutions such as the Environmental Ministry or the National Authority of Aquaculture and Fisheries, UNAP, to access and use this information directly for decision-making and policy development. So all this information is freely available on the URL that is right in the final part, in both English and Spanish. You can also access using the QR that is here. Users can browse taxon pages, search by different criteria, as common name, basin, and others, explore references, and access verified species data. It serves as a national biodiversity information gateway, continuously evolving with every new contribution from authors and collaborators. The Catalog of the Fishes of Colombia stands today as a solid and open reference for the country's ecological diversity. It was built through collaboration among experts, institutions, and global partners, and is now fully connected to international data networks, ensuring broader visibility and use. However, the evaluation that we developed in my master thesis, that you can access the document in the QR that is up on the page in the left corner. The evaluation also reveals some challenges and weaknesses that are important to acknowledge. Among them, the need for continuous updates, especially as new species are described, limited human and financial resources to maintain the editorial workflow, and the technical challenge of integrating legacy data and ensuring long-term interoperability. Still, these challenges are also opportunities to strengthen collaboration, secure sustained institutional support, and promote the use of the catalog in research, policy, and education. In short, keeping the catalog alive means maintaining both its scientific quality and the community that sustains it. Okay, I think yeah. Okay, yeah, to close, this catalog demonstrates that taxonomy can move beyond static checklists to truly living catalogs built on science, collaboration, and technology. It's the result of teamwork guided by the editorial committee in collaboration with taxonomists and grounded in a model supported by my master thesis. I want to thank to all the people involved on this work, especially also a special mention to Javier Maldonado and Ivan Mojica, that are not with us now, but they were the creators of this idea. Thank you very much. Gracias.
Thank you, Leo. I will now invite Curated to talk about the moth taxonomic database.
Hello. Major, this little bit. Major environment and biodiversity changes have changed the way we live, we work, and we create our future. The leading theme of my presentation is to emphasize the application of digital technology for fast, efficient, and ethical solutions related to biodiversity data management and stewardship. So everybody and everyone can profit from better data, better science, and better decision-making. It is of great importance for communities and societies to have unbiased and direct access to open biodiversity data on a global scale. We have enormous amount of data now in collections, herbaria, gene banks, GBIF events, iNaturalist observations. And using this opportunity, I'm proud to present the newly launched biodiversity data platform of Flanders that uses the same IT technology as the Living Atlas of Australia. There is no other option now as to create human-machine research teams. In recent years, machine learning, generative AI, and newly developed research agents based on artificial intelligence were in fast development. With the fantastic opportunities that machines can provide for the academic community, we should be well aware about concerns and work in transparent, ethical, and safe way. So let me introduce, for your kind attention, a taxonomic system developed with the Belgian biodiversity platform that deals with economically important insects on a global scale. We provide verified, correct, and complete information on all gracilarid species worldwide, their distribution, host plants, parasitoids, DNA, also taxonomic information about types, their depositories, retrieved from 118 collections in the world, and all literature data extracted from 5,194 publications. Moreover, all this information is accompanied with a huge gallery of images of diagnostic importance. I proudly can say and humbly can say that this is the tool that any biodiversity expert can dream of. And it is not a dream, it is reality. I am speaking in the auditorium that I don't need to convince to use QR codes for specimen information. However, they should be linked to the system, so every record can be easily found by a machine. The programs and technology have been ready for many years. We have been working in Belgium on such a system since 2006. The concept of human-machine biodiversity research team is based on holistic relational database that consists of 47 interlinked tables. 2 modules, taxonomy and literature, can be easily transferred to an online application in the form of a searchable website updatable in real time, while phonistics, DNA, and loan manager contain sensitive information, and such information is for internal responsible users only. Data into the system should be entered only once, and then they move across 5 interrelated research modules or work packages: taxonomy, literature, phonistics, genitalia slides, DNA samples, and loan manager. I have many years of experience of curating huge institutional collections, and I can assure you that any kind of loan or specimen movement can be easily traced by machine. I hope and I believe that participants are familiar with the universal binomial nomenclature with Linnaeus and his universal binomial nomenclature that has been successfully applied for 267 years. The essence of the linear nomenclature is that the species epithet remains unchangeable, while higher taxa can change. So let's take an example of the global pest Phyllochnisis citrella. The name citrella is unchangeable, whether it is found on citrus, apple, or cherry, it is citrella in all cases. While the higher taxa can change depending upon the leading taxonomic concepts and taxonomic knowledge at a certain time. We, taxonomists and IT people, can work very, very well together because we have similar natural and artificial thinking. So the name citrella is coded by the letter code, and it is unchangeable in all circumstances, while higher taxa are intelligently coded by a numeric code, and if the species is moved to another genus, tribe, subfamily, family, superfamily, certain numbers are changed only once, and the scientific name is applied to all 5 interrelated modules. So a human, your devoted servant, is working on a global taxonomic database, and I am enormously grateful to the Belgian biodiversity platform, which is based on human-machine team working. And from this point, only machine-to-machine reading data are circulating in the cloud environment and automatically are going to checklist bank, catalog of life, GBIF, and other global biodiversity platforms. This process works very smoothly. Our biodiversity data and platforms are fit for purpose in real time. We also manage all species of moths from the Afrotropical region and all Lepidoptera species of Belgium. So let me express my sincere thanks to my colleagues and superiors, and I thank you very much for your kind attention. And please ask the questions, and we will be very happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rate. Next, I'll call upon Diana to talk about the challenge in Catalog of Life extended release.
Hello, everybody. I'm Diana Hernandez. I'm editor in the Catalog of Life, and I'm very happy to be here and very proud to share with you some of the results and what is going on in the extended release of the Catalog of Life. I'm going to talk to you about this new assembly process that we have been doing for more than 1 year. And well, this is a general overview of a workflow of how we build the Catalog of Life. So the first part shows how is the global part of the catalog built. This process occurs in the checklist bank, which is the Catalog of Life infrastructure, and we are basically joining or getting together several different global data sets that are provided from different taxonomic communities, and we are adding this information into the management classification that we have in the catalog. So that's we call them the attached sectors here. And that's how we all together, this part here, we build the base release of the Catalog of Life. But even though that is our global great sources, we still need to fill some gaps that we definitely have for several groups or in synonyms or different reasons. So that's why we came to get information from other sources that might be global, regional, or national lists, or even from digitized literature that is also available in the checklist bank's infrastructure. All of these sources are open license, and we are merging the information from these sources on top the Catalog of Life, the base release. So the main information is not modified, and we are just merging new information in this. The extended release now is adding in this form more than 4 million names from in different taxonomic categories, and also molecular identifiers. And in this part, the boxes are showing the sources that are providing the vast majority of names to the extended release. Yes. Okay, so in these two graphs is what the numbers shows the numbers of what we have now. So we are getting more than 9 million names in the extended release that I already mentioned. They are mixing scientific names with identifiers, molecular identifiers. And in the bars, well, in green is a base release, the numbers from the base release, and in purple it shows the extended release. And what we can see here is that we are mostly merging information from the family level to the species or even lower level. And here we can see that the most contributions we are getting at the, oops. Sorry, at the genus level, which we are getting compared to the base release it's more than 60% of new genus that we are adding, both accepted and synonyms. So, well, time flies really, really fast. So this is to show how we are merging different numbers of names through this entire releases that we have been doing in a monthly manner. So these fluctuations, it is showing in families, in genus, and at the species level, both in accepted and synonym names. And this shows, well, the drops, the very peak drops that we are seeing here demonstrate either that a new global community is coming or providing new this gap that was before. So we are not, there's not necessary to add more information, or it is also a result from the improvements that we have been doing into the process, either in the algorithms or in the editorial decisions. This is a screenshot of how can we see the difference information between the base release and the extended release. So in this part of the wow, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. Yeah, sorry. So this is showing how some gaps are covered, and also how we are also showing the sources that are providing information to this merged or this new this new process. An important part of this process is to have a taxonomic community review of these new merged names. We have been approaching to different taxonomists through all the year, and we have get very interesting results. First of all, I would like to talk about this Orthoptera revision that the Orthoptera species file team made. And basically, they found in these merged names, they found some discrepancies based on misspellings. Also, they found some incorrect higher classification that were coming from digitized information, basically, or some other checklists that we were adding. And also lots of homonymy that were causing wrongs or errors in the merging. They also found that they were lacking some fossil names into the database. They are global providers for Orthoptera, and also found some new combinations to include into their database. So the actions after this was to, well, modify our algorithms and also the editorial decisions to implement and prevent the merging of these names into the extended release, at least in Orthoptera. And well, also to exclude some of the problematic sources that we were getting. And yeah, we made some feedback also to the journals that were publishing this misspelling. So some following errata is coming. And well, some of these names are progressively being included into their database. Something similar was with Diptera, where we also had some errors in the merging, but it was mainly based on the homonymy between mites, Hymenoptera, and Diptera. So that showed that some lacks of information in the higher classification of Hymenoptera were lacking in the catalog. So we ended adding some new sectors to cover this gap of information. And also, well, we're still pending for more information for mites, which is a big gap to cover. And also a very great contribution was for Orcanorhyncha suborder, where the findings were pretty much similar. They were outdated classification in Catalog of Life. They were new names to include into their database, but also some other names that were questionable or were doubtful or erroneous. So we had to block those names. And the good results from this was that we have to update this is the main provider right now for this suborder. And it was some of these merged names were enriching their database. So the Catalog of Life extended release is now live online, and we are inviting you to explore it and to check it, and please provide feedback to us. This is very, very important to improve our process and to block some sources or to, yes, get a better result of this. There's several challenges to work on, and yeah, we have to work on improving as well the process and the automatic part of this process. And also we would like to collaborate and have a very close collaboration with the taxonomic community to overcome all of these errors, or most of them, that we are facing. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to thank also special thanks for the reviewers that I already mentioned from these works. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Diana. Now I'll call upon Federico to talk about Catalog of Life and data services in GBIF. No.
¿Puedo español, Federico? Sí. Is this okay? Good afternoon, everyone. Surprise. Federico's fallen unwell, so I'm a very last minute standing. I'm going to present the work from the team that Fede was going to present. I'm very familiar with all of the work, but I don't know all of the details to the level of Fede, so please excuse me if I don't have quite the level of detail that Fede would have. And yeah, I haven't seen the slides, so let's see how this goes. So you've seen this one. You just heard this from the Catalogue of Life team. And this is a visualization of Checklist Bank. So checklistbank.org is shared infrastructure that GBIF and the Catalogue of Life have developed together over recent years. And it allows the import and management of checklists. And it allows the building of taxonomies that are integrating parts of checklists. So at the top, global checklists are assembled into a taxonomy by editors in a very controlled way. And the rules are saved, and that allows the editors to re-release their taxonomies, for example, on a monthly basis, as the Catalogue of Life team have done. This year, the development teams have implemented new functionalities, and that new functionality allows a second phase of data activity, which overlays additional checklists onto your taxonomy. So it's balancing between a very manual, highly curated process with the ability to rapidly expand your taxonomy with additional checklists. Now, just recently, the Catalogue of Life, as you've just heard, have achieved a huge milestone, which is this extended release of the Catalogue of Life. And on behalf of everyone at GBIF, I'd like to congratulate the Catalogue of Life team and all the content editors and everyone that's contributed, because the Catalogue of Life in the extended release has added an additional 4 million names. Not accepted species, but 4 million names. And it brings the total up to around about 9 million names, including species hypotheses and OTUs that fall within relative places in the tree. And that's really important for GBIF because we are dealing with a huge corpus of data that we try to organize. And for the first time ever, a global taxonomy assembled outside of GBIF is suitable for organizing the GBIF data. And that is a huge milestone. So I've been with GBIF for 20 years, and this is the first time we've seen something like that. So congratulations to everyone involved. So how do we use this in GBIF? On the left, we've got Checklist Bank, and on the right, that's the GBIF pipelines. That's how we process occurrence data. And in the middle is this matching service. It's a web service that we call, and we say, hey, we've got these names. What would it be in a checklist? So we now can match against multiple taxonomies. We've built this Docker image that allows us to to generate a lookup service for any of the checklists within Checklist Bank. At the moment, we are using the one for the GBIF backbone, as we always have, and we've just enabled a new one for the extended release of the Catalogue of Life. We're exploring one for the worms taxonomy, and we're also looking at the potential in the future for national taxonomies on GBIF data. So we're not quite there yet, but we're moving in the right direction with all of the technology to enable that. So that will bring multi-taxonomy support in the GBIF APIs. And the GBIF APIs have been stable for more than 10 years. So this has got the potential to make people a little bit nervous. So I'd like to explain a little bit about our APIs, I think. Okay, the first one, important API from GBIF, the species match API. So if you've got a name, you can come to GBIF and say, what is it? We've introduced a version 2 species match API. So I hope you can read that kind of thing. At the top, it's just showing, I'd like to search using a scientific name. That's the way we've always worked. You've now got the ability to add a checklist key. And that means I'd like to do a lookup against a specific checklist for which you've built one of these lookup services. So that's a very important API. It's used 20, 30 times per second, every second of the year by people around the world on GBIF. Another important API that we've got is the occurrence API, how you search for occurrence records. It's the same thing. It's still a version 1. We haven't broken anything. You've now got the ability to add a checklist key. So if you add the key for the Catalogue of Life, you're now searching GBIF with all the records organized to that taxonomy that Diane has just been talking about in the previous presentation. And it carries through to our download API. Should be familiar at this point. You just add the checklist key and you're doing searches, taxonomic searches for occurrence data in GBIF, where the taxonomy for how synonyms are used, you provide the checklist key. Okay, we are reworking the GBIF interfaces, and this is a screenshot of demo.gbif.org. So you can look at this now. It's sitting on live data, but can you point with this thing? Apparently, that's not the pointer. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. How does this work? Okay. Okay, right. At the top right, you can pick your taxonomy. It says supported checklists. So on demo.gbif.org, the top right, you can pick between Backbone or the Catalogue of Life. And then you're searching all of the GBIF data organized to whichever taxonomy you want. So it's very easy. And this sits on top of those APIs that I was showing you just a second ago. When you look at a record in GBIF, just here above my head, you can see on each record, we will tell you what the verbatim names on the occurrence record would be if organized to both the GBIF backbone and the Catalogue of Life. So you can see how a record would be treated if organized to different taxonomies. And we intend to add more over time and possibly even sequence-related taxonomic backbones. So, questions, GBIF backbone. We imagine that people will have questions on this, and that these are new APIs, so we'll be able to help people who've been writing scripts and want to script against the GBIF releases. Now, I think the second question has actually just been answered. One of the most important things here is the Catalogue of Life is released monthly. So every month, there's going to be a new release. And every month, GBIF will reorganize those 3.5 billion records to the latest release. So that means that as we find issues, and there's always going to be issues in a taxonomy, we can now collaborate with the Catalogue Life. We can bring proposed changes. The content team that has been expanded can react to those. It can go through the content and the governance protocols within Catalogue of Life. and be included in changes. And that would reflect in the data within GBIF. So we're really trying to sort of forge our partnership with the Catalogue of Life, bring together technology and also data governance, and be more open for people to contribute with changes, and checklists such as you heard from Tutor earlier, Duranda, sorry. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Next is Dimitri, again talking about extended release, but this time quantity versus quality.
Hello, everybody. I will speak on behalf of the species file group. This is a group at the University of Illinois in the United States, and Argentina, Maria Marta and her team. And this talk was expired the work people at Catalogue of Life was done, what Diana just presented. And Yuri Roskov and Jeff helped me with getting this data from extended release. And I wanted to see what this data look like. So I'm working on the development of TaxonWorks, and at the moment we estimate with Yuri that about 25% of Catalogue of Life is coming from TaxonWorks one way or another. And I'm personally involved in the development of the World Tokenarinka database. This is a public interface. Those are species pages. We have traditional taxonomy, bibliography, distribution, images, etc., etc. It's a decent size database, close to 48,000 valid species, plus synonymy, plus combinations, plus higher classification, etc., etc. So I did my work. It's not recent. I did my exercise about 1 year ago, so script probably changed a little bit since then. And this is a slide from the modern extended release. You can go to the website, checklist bank, and you can select 2 separate data sets, and literally you can compare them one to another. And Jeff also created a tool which helps to extract the data from extended release, and that is what I was using for comparing data which was introduced on the top of my data, which was sent to Catalogue of Life. And literally, I get shocked when I saw the numbers. As I said, 48,000 names, hundreds thousand names if you take into account valids and synonyms, etc. 12% of the entries was added on the top. But it turned not to be that bad. So most of them coming from the bold, and I literally just ignore those records because most of them don't have binomial names, so they don't identify to the species level. So I ended up with 1900 strings, and of those 1700 strings had binomial name. So that's the number I literally ended up checking one by one to see how it's going on. And I will start with a positive. As a result of this exercise, I was able to extract 49 names which was missing in the database, valid names. More than half of those coming from Plasia, so they would end up in the database anyway. And 23 was completely new records, which was from some random literature sources, which not easy to find. 83 subsequent combination, again, probably from Plasia. 39 published misspellings, which are difficult to spot, but also spotted by Plazi and get it to extended release and added to the database. And 44 some random errors, probably misspellings in the name strings, misspelling in the author strings. So those are things which get extracted from the extended release and updated in the Okinarinka database. Now we'll go to the other side of the. So we have some names, and I don't even know why those names ended in the extended release. So it doesn't make sense, or don't look like binomial names. But there was again. It was 1 year ago. Maybe it's already fixed. Plazi parsing errors, not many, but I found something when they took, when they have insects with a host plant, they managed to get genus name from the insect and match it with a species epithet of the host plant. Not many, but those errors are there. 35 nominal nuda, and again, not published nominal nuda, nominal nuda from literature. Somebody took collection label and put this data in the database. So it's not published data. We don't put those in the database the same way Lean doesn't put unpublished names. Non-Hemiptera. So we have a suite of the names, most of them due to the homonymy on the genus level, same spelling of the genus name, names from Orthoptera, plants, etc., etc. Incorrect classification, species treated as a subspecies, vice versa. Present as well in the Okinarinka database, but was treated as synonym in the extended release for some reason. Misspellings, again, it's not published misspellings. It's probably OCR errors introduced to some regional database, typing errors, etc., etc. Chrysonims, again, species name present in the Okinarinka database, but wrong author string. And again, I treat those as database artifacts. Incorrect synonymy, reverse synonymy, when the valid name was replaced to the invalid names. Old synonymy, so the name was revalidated, but synonymy was pulled back from extended release. Chrysonyms, true chrysonyms, and again, I don't know what species catalog of life will do them. Most of those are incorrect author string, diacritical marks, no diacritical marks, multiple authors, abbreviated strings, full strings, alternative spellings of the authors. But again, tons of the names was pulled to the extended release. And those are final numbers. You can see that for me, useful information was about 12% of the data, and it's 1.4% if you take all pool of the data, including bold data, which I don't count. What I count as a critical errors, 24%, as much as twice as good information. And non-critical errors, mostly chrysonyms, it's just noise, those don't bring any additional information. And again, many names was categorized into multiple categories, and to make it simple, I just selected one, and not probably always the best one. And as a result, you can see that to the data set, which I consider more than 99% complete, about 500 names was added to the extended release. And as I said, good names probably like 50, not 500. And those some mistakes because extended release was introduced last week and was available. I was able to pull some of the screens. So you see that's a two-letter switch. So the name was introduced as a separate entry in the extended release. Those strange for me, good valid name in Okinarinka database marked as provisionally accepted. And on the top of the list, and at the bottom of the list, I have valid names, and you see the genus name that I chose, or whatever it's spelled. Somehow the valid species name was reverted to the original combination and presented in the extended catalog of life as original combination instead of the combination with the current genus name. Synonymy, again, genus name as a synonym, but introduced as a valid name. And this is the most critical. Diana mentioned those generic homonymy, two valid names coming from the Okinarinka database, but because of the homonymy on the genus level, about 20 extra species was introduced to the genus. And this is crucial because I get messages from the user and saying, well, where's this data coming from? Well, it's not a question for me, it's people that. So that my question is, maybe some data sets which don't have enough information, like beetle databases, when there is not sufficient resources which providing the data, definitely extended catalog of life makes much sense. But my question is, getting 1% of the data, valid data, added on the top of the good checklist, and adding 90-something% of extra something, it's a question for me. And I don't want to say you did a lot of good work. I really like to see this extended catalog of life, and you decide what to do with this data, but I also get a complaint from the users. And thank you, everybody, and I will finish with that.
Thank you, Dimitri. Next is Camila, and she's going to talk about the extended release again, but with Platzi now.
Thanks. So, hey everyone. So now I want to show you the collaborative work we have been doing with Platzi and Catalog of Life and to expand the coverage and the taxonomic basis of the catalog. So we have many gaps that we know already. So we know several groups are lacking synonyms. So we want to enrich the catalog with this. We also know that we miss recently described species. For some groups, it really takes years, even a decade, for those names to enter the catalog. So that's a big gap. We are also missing some infraspecific names, fossil data, which can be sometimes very complicated also at the classification level. We have some fun with that. And of course, there are some taxonomic groups that are not well represented in the global registries. So we are working along with Platzi to fix these things. So you saw a lot this diagram, but maybe some of you are new in the room. So I will be going quickly over this. So we have a base release on the catalog where we use global registers in a non-overlapping manner. So we have one catalog and then one taxa. We merge them to have a base release. We do a lot of quality revisions there. And then we start addressing those gaps. As Diana mentioned, we take a regional, national management lists, and of course, data mediated by Platzi. And here we are allowed these sources to overlap because we want to enrich. So if there's a data set that has vernacular names, distribution, reference, we want to enhance the names that we already have. And for the groups that are completely empty, then we want the full thing. And then we get the extended release. This goes to Catalog of Life webpage. And now as Fede and team show us, we also get it on the demo site of GBIF. And now let's show how Platzi works. So right now, Platzi is able to extract literature information from the literature using born digital or scan information. They use the Golden Gate image software to do so. They can extract from individual papers or from templates. So they have a very neat template for a specific journal where they know which names where is the information, where are the treatments, and for where part to extract the information. There is a lot of quality control going on. There's some automated part, but it's also some human intervention there to make sure everything's clean. And then all this information gets into the different repositories, being treatment bank, Platzi's repository, and also it arrives to the Catalog of Life Infrastructure Checklist Bank. And for Checklist Bank, we get an automated workflow. So we receive the information real time. And one of the improvements we made in the last months with the Platzi team, I think it was Guido who did that, is to introduce the information using the Catalog of Life data package. So in this way, we get the verbatim classification from the papers, and that helps us to improve how we merge names. So to avoid these crazy things to happen that we get insects into plants and so on. So it's a cleaner way to add the information. We are receiving in Checklist Bank around makes around 600,000 names roughly. We don't use all of these for the Catalog of Life, but you see that we have a big bag of information that we can use to enhance the things, especially references. This is how it looks, a treatment into Checklist Bank. So you can see there's a lot of really nice information coming from this digitization mediated by Platzi. We get the publication of the publication, we get the taxonomic treatments, citations, figures, tables, material, bibliography, we get it all. And we can choose from these things what we want to add. We can take decisions. So if we have very rich information, we could decide only to add some citations by bibliography, but if we have a big gap, then we just take all the information in. Platzi has a very good feedback system. So you can go to the web page and report for each treatment if you found some error, and you can also log that through GitHub. We have been working for almost like a year and a half, almost two years, logging in issues for Platzi. We log in more than 800 issues that were quickly fixed. Many of these dealing with the classification. So we managed to do this CalDP interpretation, which I already told you that is really helping us. Other misinterpretation, missing authorships, improving how identifying what was the OCR was not taken correctly. But it was also interesting, and Diana showed that we also found some issues that were coming for the publications itself. So it was not really an OCR problem or anything, but rather things that were just overlooked during the publication process. So we were able to give feedback even from the beginning of the change of publication. And this how these contributions or Platzi are looking right now. I'm finding this very interesting. So for example, we are adding 49,000 species, accepted species names. From these, 8,000 are coming from recently described species on the last 5 years. I don't know, maybe it's not that recent from 2021, but as you see, this shows how this resource is really helping us to bring those species inside the Catalog of Life. Otherwise, we will not have them already. So this is quite a good result, in my opinion. We are also adding some synonyms, some 40,000 synonyms. And as I mentioned, we also add some other things. We enrich the names with other things. So we have 3,000 authorships and a lot more references. I don't have that number right now, but I should get it later because I think it's very interesting. And then let me show you how it looks for taxonomic group. So here I'm showing for plants, animals, and fungi. You will see the black numbers are showing the total amount of names that we have in Catalog of Life. And then in purple, you see the names being added by Platzi, and the percentage are in contrast with the total names, new added names. So not in the rate total, but rather to the new names added with the extended release. So we see with the plants that we have between 5 and 3% added. We have very good catalogs there, so it's not it's normal that we don't get a lot of numbers there. For animals, it's 19%, and for fungi is around 10%. And then, if we remember today's plenary talk, we know the arthropods or insects are getting more, represent most of the biomass that we have. Nevertheless, they are not well represented in the databases, and we see this with Platzi. So Platzi, what is bringing the most is those groups that are called like orchid or dark taxa, or wherever you want to call them. And we see for Coleoptera a very good increase in accepted names, for 14,000 accepted names and 9,000 synonym species names, and so on for Hymenoptera, Hemiptera, and Diptera, and really for the rest of the insecta, we have similar numbers. So this is something very exciting for us. So what's the work forward? We have a lot of quality things to work around together with Platzi and with other providers. One thing that we want to do with Platzi is improve how the Golden Gate software is tagging fossil taxa, because there's a lot of information coming from there, but we really need to find a way how we integrate it so it's flagged from the beginning, so we better integrate it in our classification, but we also know that we need to improve the fossil classification. So it's both way kind of work we need to do. We also want to create a workflow to provide potential new names to Catalog of Life's data contributors. So I think Dimitri made a really good explanation of how we work. So he did a very heavy job in reviewing every tiny thing. So we want to come up with a process that is easier for our contributors, so we can help them to get these new species very quickly without introducing unnecessary information into the Catalog of Life. So we have like a cleaner slate. And of course, we also want to promote best practices for publishing taxonomic data in the journals. While doing the revisions with the Platzi team, we noticed that some things were not coming necessarily for Platzi, but were things that were not so easy to interpret from the paper itself, that you needed some context from the abstract, from other parts of the paper. So I know Platzi is doing this already. So if we have some best practices, some common basis to publish name, their work is also going to be easier. And then we will increase the rate in which we get these names that are very clearly helping us to cover many gaps. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Camila. Last presentation by Olaf now.
Just hold it in my hand if you don't mind. Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, and thanks that you're here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about all the changes that we have been gone through in the last 8 years or so. So I started on a project in 2017 together with Marcus to, rebuild an infrastructure for Catalog of Life. And it became very, very quickly clear to us that we needed to collaborate with GBIF on that, just to create something together. So that's a real difficult activity to be doing, but I think that it's pretty exciting where we are today. So that also means that on every side, we have been fortifying Catalog of Life from, let's say, a data product only to now really having a data infrastructure. And of course, probably the most important thing for us is our community, our partners, our consortium of partners. Without them, we are really nowhere, and that makes our product still. So what I wanted to do is have another look at this shared infrastructure and what's actually in it. if you look at it, there are about 62 data sources, taxonomically, nomenclature, or any other species related. Now, most of them really come from the Platzi stream and other, I would say, publishers like pencil publishers. But in there, it's like an interesting set of data sources that we get. So I just wanted to make clear that a large proportion of that are actually, well, the largest proportion is taxonomy related, so taxon related. But if you then look a little bit further, and don't pin me on these numbers because I really rigged them fast a little bit, but there are over 5,000 species lists related somehow to the national level. And then if you go a step further, we actually already have a lot of lists that are, you could say, policy relevant. So about 460 that are on invasive species. And the point I want to make is that if you then look at how many are at the global level, then right now I only come to 200. Probably if I scrutinize that a little bit better, it goes up, but it just shows you that global lists are not in the majority. That's the key message home. And then if you look at, how you say, the metrics of usage in Checklist Bank, we can only measure that at this point in time as the data sets that are prepared for download. Up to this moment, there are about 9,133 data sets that are prepared for download. Now, most of them are downloaded in the Catalog of Life data package, but also you see Darwin Core Archive being pretty high, and text tree is high. So for those that don't know it, you can publish in different formats, but you can download data in different formats as well. So I just wanted to show a couple of use cases that we are busy with at this point in time, just to give you a little bit of a breath what Catalog of Life is up to. So you have heard already that right now we're suited to organize the 3.5 billion species occurrences in GBIF, and that's pretty exciting. Now, I know the work is just starting right now. We're probably making a little bit of mess in the Catalog of Life, but we will be working very hard to clean that up. Now, one of the next initiatives that approached us is the Barcode of Life. And so in the coming period, I expect that we will work with them such that the Barcode of Life will also be using the Catalog of Life as a global reference for their systems. We are also collaborating with DISCO, so I expect next year that we also become closer at that level. So data quality is really important for us. We already have a lot of processes in place. We need to do much more work on that on various levels and with more partners. But just as a use case, there are two large initiatives that are really uploading data to Checklist Bank in order to get all the import flags on the data and then improve their data sources. And these are Atlas of Living Australia and World Flora Online. Now, what you have seen already, that we're trying to explore how we can send data back to data curators. And as you can see, that's not an ideal process yet, but this is what we are trying to improve. And we already have, how to say, some examples running. And one example that has not been shown up till now is the Global Index. But I want to draw your attention as to what we do with open data, because then suddenly it opens up new possibilities of other people that come in and try to improve their data sources. And the first one I want to show is Scarabs. So Scarabs is a global list by Paul Schoolmeesters, and he's contributed already since the onset to Catalogue of Life. Now he finds out that in Checklist Bank, he can actually start adding the images of type specimens of the species that are in his catalog. So he starts really building a catalog, and I think that's really cool. The other one is work by the Dimitri Mozorin and Jeff Auer of the Species Files group. They have added a data source where you can link up to pages, to the actual pages in Biodiversity Heritage Library. It's not covering all of Catalogue of Life yet, but this is super important that we have it. Now, what we are also doing is trying to help multilateral agreements with their reporting frameworks. So one of our partners that we work with already for many years is the European Environmental Agency. They get, how you say, species reporting by legal lists, and they have no clue how to harmonize them, etc. So we help them a little bit. On the Convention on Biological Diversity, you can see that Catalogue of Life is often used as a metric for underpinning their indicators. And this is surely in the new framework, the Global Biodiversity Framework, we have to do that again. But then I want to note that there are other conventions that are also knocking on our door, like the Convention on Migratory Species. They have agreed in their scientific community that they want to start reviewing whether Catalogue of Life could be their global taxonomic reference. Look, that's something that needs to be investigated. It will probably take some years before they make that decision, but it is something that we are working on. And next month, the CITES Scientific Committee is also coming together, and there is a request from CMS whether CITES can consider to do the same review. And then with Ramsar is already a user of the GBIF backbone taxonomy, so I expect that we will be in contact with them as well. And just to highlight, we are already integrating a lot of, how you say, policy relevant data into Catalogue of Life, or are at the brink of doing it. And these are just a couple of sources that we are active with. Now, don't look at the header here because the header is wrong. It should be actually used in science. Now, it's difficult. We don't have a real good measure to immediately give you metrics on how Catalogue of Life is used. And we definitely need to do more in that area. But if I do a rough assessment on Google Scholar, I can see that there are about 9,955 mentioning or citations of Catalogue of Life. Now, these could not be real usages, but it at least shows you that it is being used. And then we are also exploring and engaging with national species listing efforts. Now, we, for more than 20 years, have already Catalogue of Life China. And right now, they have turned Catalogue of Life China to an open data license. So we are able to port data back and forth. Maybe in the first session you've heard from Sarah of TICOL, but we are also relating to the national French list, TaxRef. And as an exploration, we have been helping lately Sambi with making the Catalogue of Life of South Africa, where we help them to combine different lists, and this is still work ongoing. And this is sort of similar for Brazil, where they are using Catalogue of Life in Checklist Bank to merge their lists. Now, we cannot scale up this work, but it's sort of interesting that we are starting to become helpful at that level. Now, in the coming period, 2026, 2030, We have to come up with a new strategic plan for Catalog of Life. And this would be my question to you. We've in 8 years done a lot of work to become more relevant to various user groups. And what should be the priority, in your opinion, for the coming period? Thank you.
Okay, I think now we can get started with the questions. Oh, sorry.
I can comment on the last questions. Definitely getting more global list to the Catalog of Life. I don't know how, but basically we need to find a way to invite more group to participate in the Catalog of Life development. And another, based on what I presented, find a way to clean up extended Catalog of Life. 2 goals from my side.
Yeah, thanks. We definitely will be working on how to clean up and find better ways of, for example, finding the new stuff that is not yet in the global data sources. We certainly have to also look at technology there. Maybe we are not exploring how we quickly can review where all the dirty names are at. Definitely, I think we are finding that certain sources we just start to block because they are not contributing that much. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, my remark was a bit the same, to find in priority to listen to the users where they identify gaps or wrong, in their opinion, wrong names, and to try to find ways to update this, because some botanical colleagues told me that it's a long time that they can't find African name of plants correctly. And then they start turning to other, not Catalog of Life resources, and then it's very difficult to bring them back to the Catalog of Life. So really addressing those known issues would be good to bring more users.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. I would also encourage, like very often we don't know from certain areas what the real authoritative list is. So I would encourage, if you know that or interact, then try to convince them to publish that in Checklist Bank or in GBEF, because then we can really start to look at that and include it. Our processes are really fast at the moment to include stuff. Deb.
I wonder, yeah, hi. So I wonder if there's a potential, at least a piece of what Dimitri's getting at, maybe, very quickly a workflow. Orthoptera names stored in TaxonWorks via the API help feed the most updated names for Orthoptera to iNaturalist.
No.
So now if you're an iNaturalist and you find a taxonomic error, a name missing, a misspelling, something isn't right for the thing that's being applied to the thing, you can click a button, but now instead of the issue going to iNaturalist, who cannot fix the name, it goes directly back to the Orthoptera GitHub site, where the Orthoptera species file group manages their community. So many eyeballs are on that. So somebody can contribute and say, hey, this citation shows this name needs to be this. And somebody goes, oh my goodness, yes. And they fix the database and then it's immediately fixed. And now the name is correct in iNaturalist. And so I was thinking if there's a way to incorporate that kind of community behavior, I'm not sure how you expose the kind of things Dimitri was showing in a way that allows the same kind of interaction where someone could provide the citation, provide the correction, how they know it's right, and then somebody like Dimitri can click yes or something like that.
Yeah, certainly interested in how you say, looking at our workflows, and maybe indeed we can do something much earlier before publication. Definitely, if I look at our own process of Catalogue of Life, we can implement much more data quality, how you say, checks, etc., at an earlier stage. You want to say more?
Really quickly, I can say that it makes the users really happy with the something wrong is on the internet, right? That actually something happens. They report that happiness. We can see it in the GitHub tickets.
No, I understand that.
I'm Arthur Chapman. Have you given any consideration to the incorporation of formula names, temporary names, that is being used a lot in, for example, in Australia, in the plants, there are thousands of formula names that are formulated in a strict way and are being used because of the slowness of describing species, and we can't wait till they've got a formal taxonomic name before we put them into threatened species lists and things like that. Is there any consideration to adding those sorts of names into the Catalogue of Life?
Okay, thanks, Arthur. We actually have already some temporary names in Catalogue of Life. We are adding them. But I want to point actually to worms, to the first session. There was a talk by Lean about informal names, and it looks like worms has a really good set of guidelines that we would like to look at. So so it's maybe you want to quickly say something about that? Yeah.
Thank you. Worms is going to include temporary names, but only the ones that are in published literature. So there's still a distinction. You have the whole pool of informal non-Linnaean names, and then you have the ones that have been documented in literature because they have been reported. Those we will include, and those will then feed, at least from worms, into the Catalogue of Life. So part of the temporary names is going to be dealt with, not all of them.
All right. Any other question?
Hi. Speaking from the paleontological perspective, we have, as a community, had some problems because we don't always use the same levels as everyone else, since it's kind of hard when you don't have the whole organism, things like that, to try to figure it out. So I was curious, we have worked with GBIF over the last 5 years in particular to try to fix taxonomic hierarchy problems as we find them. But what taxonomic hierarchies are you using for these paleontological groups? Because we don't really have a standard like so many of the modern folks do.
I'm not sure if I understood well the question, but regarding the ranks that we are merging, we're trying to follow the updated or recent or recognized classifications depending on the group, and trying to follow not the very most recent publication because it needs to be more stable, but some classifications that are already accepted from the taxonomic community. So this happened recently with the Coleoptera, that we adopted the classification published last year in 2024. So that's the way we have a committee that analyzing this kind of changes.
We also recently started a task group with the Smithsonian, with Holy Little, and the idea is to work with them to start harmonizing everything, but it has been challenging. So I think it's a working process, and right now we don't know how it's heading with the current situation. Yeah.
A couple of points. Firstly, I wanted to endorse Arthur's point about informal names, which I think is really important. So, for example, many in the pet trade, in the aquarium trade, for example, use informal names. And I think being able to get those into infrastructures like Catalogue of Life would open up a whole new audience. And I think that brings me on to my second point, which is that many of the people who are contributing data to Catalogue of Life are not actually, in many ways, the big users. And of course, we're all users in a sense, but those big research users who are wanting to clean and process data, they're often quite different to the alpha taxonomists and the traditional taxonomic community contributing data. So to your question right at the end about what would be your priority, I think closing that gap, creating a more of a virtuous circle between those contributors and those users. And I think we're making great inroads, particularly because the system is allowing the kind of annotation that is going to be able to embed Catalogue of Life in many of the infrastructures that we're familiar with, such that we can edit and change seamlessly. I think that's sort of the holy grail, really, of what we need to achieve. So we're making great strides, but closing that gap between those users and those contributors, I think, will probably be the key tipping point, at which point it would be absolutely inconceivable for people not to be using the Catalogue of Life for storing and retaining these names. And I think also that's also the tipping point to many other challenges that we have within our community. So, for example, issues like registration of names, much of that relates to a lack of trust in the infrastructures that have been created. And Catalogue of Life is a really stable infrastructure embedded with GBIF and being used with all these other infrastructures. That's the point at which I think, you know, it will become inconceivable that Catalogue of Life isn't the go-to place for this. Thanks.
Thanks very much.
So the interesting challenge for Catalogue of Life for the next 5 years could be how many journals could he convince to publish in a form so that they just automatically part of Catalogue of Life checklist bank. So we have now, as Camilla presented, this workflow set up. So Plainsoft or other, or EJT, they publish, and within a day, all the data is in checklist banking, can be vetted. It's in a catalog, then comes in Catalogue of Life. It has links to the types, has links to the images if there are. And so and furthermore, a lot of the literature includes all the synonymy. So it's another source, so you could get in a description, a redescription, which includes all the synonymy, which would help to increase the number of taxonomic concepts in the system. So it would be really valuable if you could convince publishers, there are 4,000 publishers we target, that to actually consider or making it a standard or making it not a requirement, but something they want to do to actually show up in checklist bank. So that would mean we don't have to go back and catalog and do all this tedious stuff. And our staff could do much more meaningful thing, namely checking this out and do quality control.
Yeah, thanks, Donat. I'm certainly interested in, how I say, trying to put more pressure on journals and the companies behind them to open it up. We know of several sources that are like zoological records that are behind the paywall, and it's starting to become frustrating because we need those names. Yeah, thank you. Any other question? You want to add something?
Yes, it's not a question. Just a comment about closing the cycle of these informal names. It is very, very important as well to include those names into the systems because, well, that's another example that we had reviewed from a family of plants that they were pointing to these kind of names that they already checked in several platforms or several like for time, and they were like they didn't agree that we were merging these kind of names into the extended release because they already checked those names. But where is that checking? Where are those annotations? So that's one important part of closing this cycle, as well, probably was mentioned before.
It's just to share experience we have with those informal temporal names. We also include them into the system, but we still have a function whether they are visible or not visible. And some names, of course, even if they are temporal, but they were used in literature, they are visible from including into the system, from the inclusion. But the others, for example, when the new names are described, but still waiting official publication time, which can take several months or even a year, then they are invisible. And the day they are published, then just one click, and then they are in the system. So this is the way it's programmed in our databases. Thank you.
Okay, maybe a final question? And if not, I thank you very much for being present in this session. And if you have other ideas, I would say, please contact us. Then we'll do something with that. Thank you very much.
This inside me, and I let it all out. Find that I'm not the only person with these things in mind. But all you can see the words revealed is the only real thing that I've got left to feel. Just like hollow and alone, and the vault is my own, and the vault is my own. I wanna be what time is it? I wanna let you on the pain I felt so long. Erase all the pain till it's gone.